Get caught in a net with ANet. For your mind, body, and soul. Get caught in a net with ANet. It's your intellectual radio show. Here to inspire you and encourage you to be your very best. Get caught in a net with ANet.
Hey, guys, welcome to a special segment of Mind, Body, and Soul with ANet, and I am your host, ANet Harris. I want to thank you in advance for joining me so early on a Friday. I know you're probably saying, what is she doing on a Friday? But as you have seen, we have a special segment that I wanted to present to you on today. And of course, I wanted to accommodate my beautiful guests on today with their schedule. These are some busy women. You hear me? They're busy. And you will understand why once we get into talking about our discussion on today. For the past, 7 to 8 months, unless you've been under a rock, you know that we are dealing with the pandemic. And this has been an issue or situation that has affected every area of our lives, whether you realize it or not. Well, today we're going to talk about how it has affected us mentally, but more so protecting our mental health, which is key. And you all know I always preach that. I'm always talking about positive mental health and encouraging you to understand and know what it is you're dealing with and then how to deal with it. So I have solicited the help of two professionals on today. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to have these two beautiful women in my midst. And I am frantic. I'm trying to, be a little calm on today, but but I had to do this. It was on my heart to reach out and have this session. Yes, I normally air on Wednesdays, but it's okay. It's all right. We are looking at Felicia. Felicia Williams is in the virtual house on today. Now, some of you may know from the early Mind, Body, and Soul days that Felicia, she's not a novice. She's not new to Mind, Body, and Soul. She actually, I used to call her my resident therapist here on the show, because she had a little segment that she would come in and actually come into the show. And then after that, when her practice started blowing up, she actually had to, at that point, kind of do some things virtually, send me in, topics or questions or whatever that, she felt that, would be pertinent to the conversation at hand. And I'm so grateful for her. I'm so grateful that we have actually met. And Felicia, how are you doing on this morning?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Good. I'm so glad to have you back. It's probably been a couple of years now, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. My practice started in 2015. So yes.
Now, see, you're making me feel old. Well, that's okay though. But I do appreciate all that you contributed to Mind, Body, and Soul early on. And we're so grateful to have you back again. And then also, when I was talking to Felicia and asking her about coming on today, and she said, "You know what? I have an individual who I can bring in." And I said, "Oh, that would be perfect. So we can have a little extra back up there." And I have been connected to Kathy Jackson. I'm getting messages here. I've been connected to Kathy G. Jackson, and she is here on this morning. How are you feeling?
I am fine this morning. Just happy to be here and happy to be able to contribute.
Well, good. I am so glad that you are here, that you consented to join us on today. Now, what I want the both of you to do for me is to go ahead and kind of introduce yourselves to my guests, to the listeners, so that they will know who you are, your career titles, the name of your business, and then we can kind of get into our subject on today. I don't know who wants to go first.
I'll go first since I'm talking.
Okay.
Everybody's familiar with Felicia, and I'm the newcomer. My name is Kathy Jackson. I am a licensed clinical professional counselor, licensed by the state of Illinois. I also have a national certification with the National Board of Certified Counselors. I have been a professional parkour since 2004. I started my career at Illinois Mentor, which was a company that was contracted with DCFS. So for the first 10 years of my career, I did counseling, in-home counseling for kids with both mental and medical diagnosis who were wards of the state. After that time, I left there, took a hiatus for a couple of years, taking care of sick family members. And then in 2015, Sharper Clarity was born. So I've been practicing as an independent since July of 2015, looking forward, not behind.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. Something about that 2015, huh?
Yeah, 2015 was that was, that's the foundation of Kathy Part 2.
I like that. Sound like a book.
Yeah, it might as well be.
Kathy Part 2. I love it. I love it. Okay, Lady Felicia, tell us what's going on with you. Give maybe kind of inform the newbies of who you are.
Okay, of course, my name is Felicia Williams. A lot similar to Kathy. I'm a licensed clinical professional counselor, also licensed by the state of Illinois. The name of my practice, which was birthed in 2015, under the leadership of none other than my Savior, God.
All right.
And I was led to go into this, what I call as ministry, this counseling field. And Kathy and I are both under the same roof, but our businesses are separate. So my business is Agape Counseling Services. And I'm very happy to have Kathy under the same roof with me because we both have that same spirit. So we're both practicing from the clinical knowledge that we have, but also biblical knowledge.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the difference.
Yeah.
That's what makes the difference. I love it. I love it. Actually, I love to I advocate Christian counseling, or, because I think that's important. Of course, that's how I grew up in the church, but I think it's important to connect those two when people normally don't connect that. They think that they are two different entities and they have nothing to do with each other, but I'm finding out that is not true. But yeah, I'm sure when you are counseling, can I just say this? Both of you have my dream job, and I'm headed that way. Okay, but
Come on, we always use one more.
yes, definitely, definitely. But I'm sure when you're counseling, like you say, you were incorporated by Jesus Christ Himself. Felicia, I love that. And you can't forget that when you are sitting down, you're counseling individuals, and you're seeing what's going on with them. So before I get to talking too much, let me recognize those you that are here on Facebook Live. I thank you so much. That is the way to watch us on today. At the end of the show, I'm going to upload it to YouTube so that you can always go back. And we are only dealing with an hour on today because of their schedules. And I want to definitely, adhere to that because I want them to come back. I don't want them to say I took too much of their time, Like, I'm not coming back. She don't know how to respect my hour. So here we go. We're going to, do this within an hour. And we do know, disclaimer, that we're not going to be able to get to everything. When you're talking about mental health, it's so many layers, so many things to address and to touch on that an hour, of course, will not justify. But we're going to allow these two professionals to jump in and to discuss these things that are affecting us here in this time. I see you, Beatrice. I see you, Marcus, and I see others that are being tagged. I see Christian. Thank you so much for joining us on today. If those of you that are on here already, if you haven't done it, please go ahead and click the share button. Click the share button, throw up the hearts, the thumbs up, the care button, and that will alert others that we are on early. And so they can be able to get in on this conversation on today. I see you, Marcus, saying good morning, wonderful ladies. And Beatrice says she's working and watching. Thank you. Hashtag on the Friday. That's right, Beatrice. We are doing something a little bit different on today. So let's go into, we know this breakout happened with this pandemic at the early part of this year, March, if you will. I am quite sure that your practices were affected. So maybe we can kind of start there and telling us how your practices were affected, maybe your procedures or how you had to change things around. What did you start doing to be able to continue delivering the service that you provide. How about we start with you, Felicia?
Okay, so after the shutdown in March, we were kind of forced to go to telehealth services. And thankful to how the governor saw the need for the mental health services, we had a lot of options for telehealth, which we normally wouldn't have. So we had the video sessions. You can do telephone calls. You can communicate through Messenger on Facebook. You can text, which was some of those ways, the telephone, the texting and all that would normally be telehealth services, but they open it up to where we can use all types of services in order to continue to meet with our clients. Now, what I would say the struggle with me was in a world now where telehealth is so prominent is working with the smaller, younger children, because it's hard to keep their attention when you're using telehealth services. And then also we have people in the household that doesn't give them the privacy that they need when you're doing telehealth service with children. So those were only challenges I can see, but we were grateful to be able to have that source, because without having people coming to the office, then of course that would affect the business.
Interesting. Now you brought up something, a very good point, and when you're discussing children, because I'm looking here on the news where, it's talking about, school. And sometimes you see those special reports or whatever where, some parents and or teachers are saying it's kind of difficult to kind of, educate or carry out their teaching duties with these young children, and also with those who have special needs.
Yes.
Because sometimes they need hands-on or whatever, they need something to keep their attention. So that I didn't even think about that in terms of of your work, with dealing with the counseling. That's a very, very good point. Okay, I can see how that was a challenge. I can definitely see that. Okay, Miss Kathy, what do you want to tell us?
Well, I've experienced some of the same challenges that Miss Felicia. I had already implemented telehealth. My purpose in it was the fact that winter is coming. This is winter in Chicago. Sometimes we get 20 inches of snow, and when we get 20 inches of snow, I'm going to be peeping out my window. So one of the things was to give clients an opportunity to be able to continue their session. If some emergency came up, they had a sick child or something prevented them from actually coming into the office. So I use it on an emergency basis only. So after COVID hit, we had to make the transition to counsel in a whole different way. And like Felicia said, first we had to move home. Then the good thing about the platform that I use is that they didn't need any special equipment or any special apps. One of the barriers was, and even now, a lot of insurance companies, even before then, they had telehealth, but what they wanted was, like, each individual insurance company wanted you to use their own platform. So like Blue Cross wants you to use their platform. United Health wants you to use their platform. Aetna wants you to use their platform. So one of the things when the governor allowed it to open up, it allowed us to use the platform that was easier and more convenient for us, and also easier and more convenient for the client.
Absolutely.
I found clients they were being creative in doing sessions. I had a lot of them sitting in cars.
Really?
Yes, I have one client, she didn't live far from a pond, so she would drive to the pond. So, one of the things is, if there's a means, if there's a method, and we do what we have to do to be of service to our client, because the important thing is to be able to provide them their outlet or their continuation of service, especially as the issues of COVID started to increase beyond what we even understood or even imagined. And there were a couple of times, like Felicia said, when we were dealing with children, I actually had to make the call that the video session would not be good. Just meet me in my office, just the parent. Sometimes you have to make those exceptions. So we just followed CDC guidelines. And if it was an absolute necessary where I didn't think video was appropriate, I did bring them into the office because it was necessary, because the important thing was for them to get seen.
Right. Get the help they need.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, with all that in mind, now what have you seen? We talked about the changes with you both in your practices, but what changes have you seen with the world, if you will? Not only your clients, but the world with dealing with this pandemic. Have you seen? Because I've been in my mind, trying to be compassionate and understanding, because here you are. Let's present this situation. In March, here you have someone telling you you have to stay at home. You can't go out. You can't do this. This virus has spread. We're trying to get it under control. So you got to stay at home. Don't come out. And that was for a while until they, lifted that up. So then you're dealing with individuals who probably already were dealing with some mental issues, so, what is that going to do for them? And how did that look? So what kind of changes did you see, in general on the whole, and even with your clients?
Well, and it wasn't just that the change occurred, it's that the change occurred suddenly without a lot of direction. People went to work one day and was told, okay, you're going home and you're going to stay home. Or your kids are coming home for homeschooling. We're being told, okay, you can't keep your doctor's appointment. So there was a lot of things that happened, and it thrust. Not only did it thrust, but it did it just like that with very little direction. So it caused for people to adapt very quickly to a new lifestyle without even knowing what that adaptation looked like, given very little direction on how to carry out life as normal. So one of the biggest things was having to figure this out in the moment's notice as we go along. It was really no preparation. And even today, you're still finding that a lot of people are having this issue because of lack of proper presentation or preparation. When we tell about planning, well, you don't get to plan if it's 12 o'clock and they tell you to go home at 2 and don't come back.
Absolutely.
That's so true. Felicia?
Yes. And as far as that, like Kathy's saying, the lack of planning is the thing. Because of course, if we had known in advance something like this would happen, you would have the opportunity to prepare your client of how things are going to be and what. So now the unknown we were dealing with, and then some of the clients had to decline services because they don't have the privacy in their homes to do telehealth services.
Wow.
So some had to decline service. There were some of my clients that I wasn't able to see until I got back into my office, which wasn't until June. So
wow.
we had that issue. And then again, as I said with some of the children, you had to make the call whether or not to continue with the telehealth or, wait till you get back into the office, because most of the time with children, I'm doing interactive type of therapy. So we're doing an activity along with therapy, which you can't do through telehealth. And the other issue was I was dealing with a lot of couples before COVID.
Yes.
So you had couples that might have been doing okay, but that might have caused some type of friction and caused some regression. I've had couples where there's been some verbal and physical altercations in the midst of this that hadn't happened prior to. We've had couples now talking about divorce, things like that. I've had clients that have been closed out, but in the midst of the pandemic, reaching back out when the shutdown happened. And certainly this haven't been a joyride for people that were already dealing with symptoms of depression, anxiety, and PTSD. So of course, that shutdown, this pandemic has caused an escalation in those symptoms. And so those are the things that you're seeing mostly, PTSD, anxiety, and depression that's being affected.
Yeah. Throughout this time, every time you kind of look at the news, sometimes you'll see, again, special reports on talking about the mental health. And I'm so glad, I was glad to see different things like that, because again, it seems as if, this subject is, people don't want to talk about it. Either that, or they don't realize that they are being affected, you know, in the negative sense mentally. And, you know, sometimes I'm looking around and, you know, the aggressions of some individuals sometimes, and I'm like, Lord Jesus, you know, and I've had to like step back and kind of look at some people, you know, that I know personally, like, okay, yeah, you are stressed. There's something else going on there, you know, because, you know, just as you said about some couples who are probably now fighting that they weren't doing it before, this, you know, unfortunate direction or lack of direction, if you will, about what's going on has, you know, taken the thoughts of individuals and kind of taken them, you know, someplace else where they really necessarily wouldn't have been there. I applaud you too. I really do, because I'm so sure that, you know, again, it's probably frustrating for you because you want to be able to help your clients. I mean, you wouldn't be in this business if you didn't want to, you know. So I don't know if it had become maybe overwhelming for the two of you, or you just kind of maybe had to just sit back and say, okay, let me just lay this thing out so that I could be able to help my clients. Was that maybe a situation for either of you? Did it become kind of overwhelming for you because you wanted to continue to help?
I think for me, the overwhelming issue became not the transition to be able to help my clients. The issue became, as people, and people did recognize that their anxiety was up. They did recognize their depression was up because they're dealing with job loss. They're dealing with loss of income. They're dealing with not being able to communicate and talk. So then you have a group of people who are seeking a help, and I just have no room on my calendar, you know, and it just makes you wonder, how can you be more of assistance when you don't have the time frame in which to do it? So for me, I think that has been the biggest frustration, because I can only see so many clients in so many days and so many weeks. And there are so many people that a lot of people really are reaching out because they need help and because they know something is going on. And you got to put them on a waiting list, or you got to be able to work around a schedule that you already have. So that's one of the biggest challenges that I have faced, being able to make myself available to people who may not already be on my calendar, you know. Right. And you recognize that they need help and they're reaching out, but is it available to them? So one of the things through Felicia and some more colleagues, we have been working to, if I can't, maybe Felicia can, and if Felicia can't, we can refer them. So we try to keep a network within us so that even if they come to us and we can't take them, that we can send them someplace that we know they will get proper help, not just any fly-by-night situation or circumstance. So for me, that's what my biggest challenge have been.
Okay. Felicia?
And that's my same frustration, is we don't have the room to accept the people. The volume of clients that we've been given is on a daily basis. There are multiple calls daily for services for the same thing: anxiety, depression, grief, and loss. And you want to help, but you just don't have that room. We both just filled to capacity, which is a blessing, but you want to be able to help people. And we are thankful that we do have other colleagues that most of the times have an opening and we can refer out to. So we're thankful for that. Kathy and I both, we'll tell them we don't have an opening, but we do try to refer out rather than just saying we don't have an opening, that's it, that's all. So that is a frustration, not being able to take on other people, because it's in a time like this when there's so many people reaching out. And then my other frustration, and I've been saying this all throughout the hour, is again, going back to the children. When you have to, although I'm back in office now, but before then, in the midst when I had to do the video sessions and the lack of privacy that they have, is so many times I'm with a small child in a video session and we're talking and they're looking around before they can respond to me because the parent or someone is right there and they can't genuinely give me a response. So that was a lot of my frustration as well.
I can imagine. You know, I was kind of thinking, I don't know if either of you ever experienced this or not, but I don't know if maybe with couples or something, or individuals who just did not even tell people that they were in counseling. before the pandemic. I'm sure that was probably a challenge too. And like you said, with the telehealth, you really couldn't, maybe they were like, no, that's okay. I'm not going to have counseling with you because people are around me or their environment. I'm quite sure that was probably a challenge. I don't know if you had a lot of that, but I'm sure that probably weighed in on you as well. Because I guess probably at that point you probably feel like I feel helpless. I want to help them, but I can't. You don't want to divulge anything. You don't want to make it worse for them because whatever they're getting counseling for could be because of that person that's standing over their shoulder.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, I'm sure that was quite interesting. Let's kind of move into maybe for the remainder of what the time that we have on today, talking about protecting our mental health. Because it is important, and I want you all to kind of give some keys, some takeaways to individuals, so that those who are listening live and those who will rewind this to listen to it in its entirety can have something to help them. Because everybody doesn't have a Felicia, everybody doesn't have a Kathy. You know what I mean? And may not be able to call you for whatever reason, whether it's they can't pay for it or they feel inhibited. Maybe some things you can kind of give them as takeaways today for protecting your mental health even during this time. Because I'm gonna throw this in here too. We've seen it on the news, especially in the past few weeks. There's been a rise with this coronavirus. And Auntie Laura the other day wasn't too happy with Chicago, and she's talking about taking it back to phase 3. So how should we handle ourselves now, even with this second wave that is upon us? Because it is upon us. I don't know who wants to go first.
Well, one of the first things I would recommend, first and foremost, because like you said, there's a lot of information out there. So one of the things that we want to do first and foremost is keep informed. And when I say keep informed, I mean, know what the bullet points are, know what Uncle Lori is asking, Uncle Pritzer. We need to know and have this information, but we need to get it from reliable sources. Because one of the things that's happening is there's so much information, some accurate, some not accurate, and it's ever changing. What we thought was true today wasn't true yesterday. So one of the things that we want to do is we want to get information that we need from reliable sources so that we can make an informed decision about what we need to do. Because one of the things about the stress and the anxiety comes from the unknown. It comes from the unknown. So we want to just get to the point first and foremost where we are getting reliable information and then make that information applicable to you. We're changing not even the way that we do counseling, not even the way we do work, even the way that we do for those who belong to a house of worship. All this stuff is changing. So the thing that you want to do is get the information from the school. Get the information directly from your employer. Get the information directly from your house of worship. And don't be so quick to rely on everything, because everything that is written is not absolutely true. And social media can be one that really inhibits a lot of accurate information. So one of my first giveaways will be
wait a minute. So everything on the internet ain't true? Just kidding.
Honey, I've read some stuff and said, that's not what it said. So, and then understand that with the pandemic, with COVID, if they're learning, the experts are learning about it as we're learning about it. So yes, they may have this information yesterday, but as they learn, they pass the information on. So one of the things we have to be willing to take that information, and then we have to be willing to adjust in accordance to the information. Well, they said this yesterday. They said, well, we've learned more today than we did yesterday. So that's why I say keep up with information. In other words, keep yourself informed and informed from a reliable source.
Absolutely.
I like that.
Okay. there are other things that we can do. We can minimize by planning. We're at home now and the kids are at home. Have everybody have a designated space. Because one of the things that's prominent, and I'm quite sure Felicia can attest to this, if mama home working and daddy not, they think visibility means availability.
Yes.
So, a lot of people are struggling with, I'm trying to work, but can I get a grilled cheese sandwich? So sometimes we may have to carve out our space so that it's like, if I'm in here, or I suggested to one client who was having this problem, she now puts a red crepe over her computer. And when that red crepe is up, don't talk to me because I'm working. Something where we can identify that we're in work mode versus we're in pleasure mode. And then do the same thing with the kids. Get them a workspace for school and have them to tailor that workspace to their liking. Let them put their paintings up or something that makes the environment more inviting, and it'll hold their attention more, and they feel like they have some control over stuff they don't have control over.
Good stuff. I'm taking notes as you're talking too.
Okay.
All right, that's good.
You want to jump in here?
Yes, of course, I agree with everything that Ms. Kathy is sharing. The only thing I would add to it is decrease social media intake and the news, CNN, Fox News, all of it. Decrease that intake because that feeds into the anxiety and depression that a lot of folks are dealing with. So we sometimes have to cut the TV off. We sometimes have to take a sabbatical from Facebook or the other forms of social media, Twitter, YouTube, whatever it is, those things. And the other thing is when a lot of folks are dealing with isolation, but we have a lot of computer technology that allows us to yet have contact with people. So
Yes.
I know a lot of families do Zoom meetings, weekly Zoom meetings, and they even play games
Yes.
on the Zoom meetings, things like that. So we can have interactions like that going. We have to just be far more creative than we would normally be, since we are not physically visiting with each other and having, like, we got the holidays coming up and we're being told it's not the time to gather. My family has a big Thanksgiving gatherings normally every year. So we have to do it different. So we're staying in our prospective homes, but we still can meet via Zoom and celebrate Thanksgiving. What did you cook? This is what we're having. This is what we're having. That type of thing. And the same thing with Christmas. So we just got to become rather creative, and we can't leave the children out of the planning of that because they're also in isolation. My youngest son is at home on e-learning. So he isn't having that contact with the friends like he normally would. So he has to be creative and FaceTime them and on all those things and talk to them through the video games and things that they play. Then I have my oldest son away at college in Wisconsin, where, they're saying the rate is very high. So to deal with my own anxiety in that situation, I'm just having regular conversations and contact with him, just making sure he's okay. And that helps me be okay. Because I realize I can't go to Wisconsin and grab him up. I realize I can't be down there visiting with him. So we have to just talk through phone. And of course, I got to pray.
And Felicia is right about one thing. And if nobody takes anything away from this, I want you to take away from something that Felicia said. It's important that we keep our social contacts by any means necessary. It's important that we have that connection with our family and our friends. It's important that we reach out if we're struggling. It's important that we take the time to also listen. And during this time, how we communicate with each other is just as important as communicating with each other. We need to have a sense of kindness. We have a sense of empathy. We need to express a sense of understanding that things is changing and people may be struggling now. So let the motivation be, what can I do to be a part of change in a positive way? Sometimes we focus so much, I call it the left and the right. We focus so much on the left, what's wrong, what I can't do, what who I can't see, I can't go to the party, I can't do. We focus so much on the left that we don't even see that there are some blessing in the right side of things. You know, the ability to be able to talk to somebody, the ability to be able to be with your friends or to be at home with your family. How can we make this an enjoyable situation for everybody? And like Felicia said, get everybody involved in it in the family. It is so important that we maintain those social contacts. You know, I have people that ask me because I'm single, you know, and my son and his family lives in DeKalb. So, you know, I have people ask me all the time. I says, well, no, well, first and foremost, because I'm at home with Jesus. But but one, you know, my outlet, my thing is I stay in contact. We still do Bible study via Zoom. We still have church service on the way. Stay involved. Pick up the phone and call somebody that you haven't talked to all year that you needed to just say hello to. Not because something's wrong. This is an opportune time to take the time to catch up on those phone calls, catch up on those virtual visits. One of the things kids can do, I think, is, you know, because they're so much more tech savvy than us, give them an opportunity to teach us how to become even more tech savvy. Have them teach grandma how to do this. And then they become a part of. And last but not least, please understand, please emphasize, this too shall pass. It may not be today and it may not be tomorrow, but it's coming. And this is a moment in time. One of the things I've encouraged a lot of my kids to do, I says, are y'all journaling this experience? I said, because in 5 years from now, this is history. And you know how our grandparents talk about what was going on back then? Well, someday this is going to be back then. And it gives them an opportunity, if they journal, if they document. So when the historians get ready to write about this point in time, because trust me, 2020 going to make the history books. You never know. You may be able to contribute. So get projects or things that they can do to help wander through this part. But again, this too shall pass.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Now did you see how she slid that spiritual part in there? I love it. Because you need to look at yourself on, like I always say, the other side of through, you know, not that you are still or going to be in this situation forever. I didn't think about it, what you just said. You know, this is history, whether it's good or bad, this is history. You know, however it has affected us. So it's good to journal. And yes, it is key to look at the positive. I love that. You know, Felicia, you said a whole lot, Felicia, and I still appreciate how you're basically advocating for the children. If I don't get anything else from what Felicia said today, that's what I hear. And it's key and it's important because we don't want to leave our children out. We don't want to disregard them. And sometimes, well, I don't have any children. Sometimes I could even do that, leave them out, you know, or not really consider their feelings or what they're dealing with because I don't have any. I mean, I have plenty of nieces and nephews or what have you, but we don't want to leave the children out. We want to make sure that we advocate for them and make sure that they have what they need, because it's hard for them. Just like one of you said, you know, about, you know, the child who, you know, if they're doing the hybrid learning or if they're doing e-learning, they don't have that interaction with their friends like they're used to doing. Now, some people may say, well, that's good because they need to hang out with some people, but that's beyond the point. You know, because kids still need that. They still need that interaction. They need that. So yes, it is important to find healthy ways to cultivate that so they can, you know, be able to get through this as well. I see so many of you have joined since we've been talking. Today is a special segment for Mind, Body, and Soul. And we're talking about protecting our mental health during this pandemic, during the coronavirus. And, you know, I'll throw this in there as well, is we haven't only been dealing with the coronavirus this whole year. There's been a whole lot of other stuff.
Yes.
Racial injustice, this election, everything. It seemed like it's just, but what you say, Kathy, this too will pass. So, So we've been dealing with an awful lot, which can take a toll on us mentally. So this is what we're talking about on today, how we are protecting our mental health. And they have of maybe the past 15, 20 minutes been instructing us, giving us some tips on how to protect our mental health. And I see you, Jamone. I see you, Nicola. Thank you so much for joining us on today. DeMarc, I think I saw Apostle Miles, Rose Harrison on today. Rachel is watching. We appreciate all of you. And please, when you come in, I know it's been good. Hey, Ernest, thanks for watching. Auntie Deborah, I see you. Jeanette Shaw. I know it's been good. Probably as soon as you got in, whatever they were saying probably grabbed your attention. But go ahead and click that share button while you're listening. Click the share button. Just click the share button. Then that way we can make sure that everyone is informed. So let's see here. My goodness. Hey, Kenneth Smalley. And I'm sorry, I do see you guys here on the watch party as well. Demetrius Hunt is over there as well as Kenneth. So thank you guys for joining us on today. We're not going to be here much longer, maybe about another 20 minutes, so I can allow my professional women to get back to their jobs. They, have things laid out. I think somebody already talked about planning. Didn't somebody say, I'm talking about planning? So they have their days planned out. And so we just kind of wanted to get, a little bit of their time to kind of help us. Now, if anyone has any questions for them, you can throw them into the comment section. If you throw them in before we end this session, I'll read them and see if they can address them. If not, we can ask them if they can go back and look at the live feed, to see if there are any questions or comments that they can address for you. Because there may be some things you may be thinking about yourself. Maybe you don't want to say it out loud. I don't know. And then let me piggyback off of that and ask both of you to let my listeners know where they can find you. I know your schedules are packed, but they may need to make an appointment with Kathy. They may need to make an appointment with Felicia. So Felicia, start off telling us where your practice is before we move forward, because I don't want to miss that before we end on today.
Okay, I'm located in Homewood, Illinois, and the name of my practice is Agape Counseling Services, and I'm located at 1820 Ridge Road, Suite 200.
Okay. And is there now they can kind of just look up Agape Counseling Services, right, in Homewood to get the number, or do you?
Oh, I'll give the number.
Okay.
708-794-6857.
794-6857. I'm trying to type as you're talking, Felicia. I want to type it into the comment section so that they will know how to contact you. And then Ms. Kathy, if you can give us your information.
Okay, name of my practice is Sharper Clarity PC. The whole title is Kathy Jackson, Sharper Clarity PC. I'm also located 1820 Ridge Road, Suite 200, Homewood, Illinois, 60430. My direct telephone number is 708-966-6091. I am on Facebook. I have a Facebook page. I also have a web page, sharperclarity.com, and I can be reached through any of those mechanisms. And like I said, you can call my office directly. You can send me an email, sharperclarity@outlook.com.
Okay.
So I put it out there for everybody to be able to reach me. But one thing I want to get in before we leave or before we end, above all else, we need to take care of ourselves.
I love it.
We need to take care of ourselves. We're so busy taking care of the kids, taking care of the husbands, taking care of the work. We need to take time out for ourselves. Self-care is so important. There's 24 hours in a day. There's no reason why we can't take 30 or 45 minutes a day to just sit within ourselves. Put your music on and tune everybody else. Read that book for a half an hour. Sometimes stuff gets so heavy, we need to step back for a minute. And self-care is one of the most important things that we all can do in order to be able to get through this COVID and get through situations. We think better with a clearer head. We feel better with a clearer head. And one of the greatest issues that I stress with each and every one of my clients, take care of self. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else. do what you have to do to claim that time. Take that S off your chest. Take it off.
You talking to me, Kathy? Just kidding.
Take it off. Because when I get stressed out, guess where I go? I'm knocking on Felicia's door. Hey.
Wow. Now you just brought up something which will take us into a totally different topic. Like, where do the therapists go when they need some?
Let's do a show on that next.
We should. Why don't we do that? Why don't we do that? Yeah. See, Kathy, you just opening up stuff there. But I love it, and I'm loving how you are stressing that, because we will lose ourselves when we're trying to make sure we have our jobs, our careers, our children, our spouses, or what have you. And it's like, wait a minute, I got lost in there somewhere. Right. So I'm glad you brought that up. And I actually do on my YouTube channel a positive mental health tips. And one of the tips that I gave out, you were kind of talking about it a whole lot there. Actually, both of you were. But, in terms of, how to look at things positively and how to, especially during this time, because we can find all the bad that we can during this time, but try and look on the bright side of it. And I'll never forget, I think it had to be back in, was it maybe the end of May? We were doing a virtual baby shower for my niece. And so I had to run out to the store. So of course I had to put my mask on and everything. And when I pulled up to it and got in the parking lot of the store, I looked around and it was like everybody, I think that was probably maybe one of my first times coming out since they said, shelter in place. And I looked around and I said, Lord have mercy. If somebody is not mentally set or mentally good, they will look around at everybody with all these masks on and be like, Lord Jesus, where am I at? Am I on another planet or what? Yes. It could take, just looking at that could take an effect on your mental state, And so I started doing these mental health tips to try and okay, kind of think on the positive side, don't let it overwhelm you, because it can. So yeah, thank you all so much for saying that. Now, Felicia, did you want to piggyback off of that and give some more? We have a few more minutes. I'm not going to run off. We have about maybe 10 more minutes to talk. So you can go ahead, Felicia.
Yeah, absolutely. Kathy and I worked together before private practice at an agency. And my heart is so passionate about children because we came from that background of working in child welfare. So I still have, of course, something to say in regards to children. But before that, I want to say, let us not take for granted that person walking around smiling is genuinely happy. Mm. Let us not take for granted that person that's laughing and joking is okay. And the reason why I'm saying that, because that same person that's laughing and joking, that same person that's walking around here smiling daily may have thoughts of suicide. That person may have thoughts of feeling hopeless. No one cares. There's nothing else left. And I don't mean to sound morbid. This is just my experience. Okay. And this is not just with the adult population, but this is also with children. And so while we're want as adults to take care of ourselves, but we also want to check in on our children. We don't want to think that our children are so resilient to what's going on. We want to take the opportunity and check in on them on a regular basis and make sure that their mental health is okay. Because I can't tell you how many children have told me that they consider suicide, and they didn't tell me until months later when they felt safe to tell me this. And to this day, that parent don't know. Now, because of confidentiality, I can't share that. It's not a risk of harm situation at the time that they're telling me this, so I cannot share this. So this is why I am petitioning for parents to be more aware of what is going on with your child. Ask questions. I check in with my boys all the time, and my daughter. I check in with them. How you're doing? How is school doing? Are you stressed with the school? If there's been incidents at their schools where people have taken their lives, and now that opens up conversation for us to talk about it. Right. And then, have you ever felt that way? It's okay to ask your kid, have you ever felt suicidal? Have you ever felt hopeless? It's okay to ask them that. Now, depending on the relationship, you may not get a genuine response, because that's the other thing I want to say is, while we have kids at home e-learning, the other stressor sometimes is the parent. Just like sometimes we don't want to deal with them, they don't want to deal with us. Sometimes our children can't take being around us this extended amount of time that they have to be around us now. And I get that all the time with my clients too. I don't want to be at home with my mama all this time. This is what they tell me. My mama fuss too much. My daddy talk too much. This is too much time at home with them. So I just want us to be aware of the sufferings that they're going through beyond e-learning.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. You guys are bringing us such good points. My goodness, it just makes you think and makes you wonder. They may not want to be at home with some of these individuals, and sometimes there may be hazardous situations. You've been told to shelter and stay in place, and you're in a abusive relationship or abusive home, and not being at home is your escape. Or being at home as less as you can, it helps you. But now you've been told to stay there, which I'm sure is why the domestic violence was probably on the rise. I think they did say it was on the rise during this time. So that's a whole lot to look at. But when you first started talking, Felicia, just now, I was tying in what Kathy said, and so you both are still on the same course there, because you mentioned make sure you check on your kids, make sure you ask them, and even you gave the example of how you do with your own. And then Kathy said earlier, right before that self-care is important. So that's why self-care is important. You have to take time for yourself, make sure you're good, so that you can, and Kathy said this, be able to help somebody else. Yeah. So that you can help your child, so that you can help others. So I was just tying both of those statements in together, which I think is so key. Yeah. Gloria Gooden, I see you. Edward Johnson, thank you for watching. Annie, I see you on. Thank you for watching. We appreciate you. All of you guys that are joining in with us on today. I've tagged a number of individuals, so they're going to go back and look at this on, whenever they get a chance. But again, this was definitely a key show to do. I know it was special. I know it was only an hour, but it's so important. Our mental health, our mental state, we have to take it seriously. And because if we don't, then we won't be any good, bottom line. Yeah. Felicia, you mentioned about some actual handouts that you give away. I don't know if it's during your sessions or something that you just have available in your office. Can you tell us about those?
Well, Kathy and I have a resource table in our lobby in the office. And so there's different handouts dealing with anxiety, depression, the stages of grief, which a lot of people is not even aware of the stages of grief. And I think that's like one of a big informational guide is the stages of grief, because so many people, once they read it, can identify with it. And then we have a domestic violence wheel. So that's helpful. That's a good aid in helping people to actually identify whether or not I'm in a domestic violence relationship, And then we have, let's see, what's it, another one? A handout on depression. So the handouts are not just handouts, but they're also it gives you information and then give you coping tools as well.
Okay. Good stuff. And so I asked her to bring that up because what I'm going to do, I'm going to have Felicia or Kathy, whichever can scan them and send it to me. And then I'm going to place those on my website so that you guys can have access to them. And, as we are promoting this and promoting you to get the help that you need, or if it's not for you, for someone else, maybe you know of someone. I get phone calls all the time, ladies. I do. Felicia, no, because I'm referring folks to her left and right. She's the first. Now I had Kathy also, but Felicia was the first one I think about. When someone calls me, Felicia, now you may not get all of them because maybe they back out and don't call you, but whenever somebody asks me about a therapist, Felicia's the first person on my mind, and I'm referring her. So now I've added Kathy to my list now, so we can we can make sure that they and like she said, they work in sync with one another, which I think is so important, so important. And I love that too, because can I just throw this in here? This ain't got really nothing to do with what we're talking about on today, but I love how you all are working together, because unfortunately, too many of us, we too busy tearing, each other down and not necessarily, lifting each other up. You are both in the same business, okay? You both have the same practice. What it look like, Felicia? I don't like Kathy, and she doing too much over there, whatever. But unfortunately, we do that to each other, and we need to stop it. I have no idea why that came to my mind, but we need to support one another. So you heard the two of them today. If you didn't hear, they were pushing and supporting one another. When one started talking, okay, do you want to say something? I love it. I love that. That they have, and so we need to do that. So I'm going to be, I guess I said all that to say, I'm going to have them on my little referral list when any individuals ask about therapy or getting some help. Brandy, I see that you've joined us. Thank you so much. And David Anderson, I think, is that right? David Hartsfield, thank you. We appreciate you. Auntie Deborah said this has been good. But yeah, this is, I'm telling you, I think some of you all are waking up now, but we only got about 7 minutes left. I see y'all popping in here on the Facebook Live, but that's okay. You can always rewind it and listen to it from the beginning. I did want to ask a question before we leave. Holidays. Somebody mentioned about holidays and the upcoming holidays. The holidays of 2020 look a whole lot different than what we are used to. Yes. Some of you all had plans to travel, to go and see family. Felicia says she has a huge family. They normally get together. What is there anything that you can leave with my viewers and my listeners on today on how to handle the holidays? Because it's going to look different. They're telling you, no, you should not have these huge gatherings. Even, because some people think, oh, it's okay, they're in my family. But we just listened to Auntie Laura the other day, and the doctor, Arwadi, I think it is, and she mentioned about how the cases are rising within the homes. Yes. So how are they rising in the homes? Because people are going out, they're coming back in or what have you, and they're having contact with others. You have these asymptomatic people, so they're walking around without no symptoms, but they have it. And so they're transferring it over. So how do you deal with that? Because it's like, okay, you want to get together with your family, but what do you do? Yeah, I know we can do Zoom and stuff, but is that the only solution?
Well, I'm going to give it over to Kathy in 1 second.
Okay.
While we're talking about the holidays, and we're talking about the pandemic, but outside of the pandemic, holidays are a struggle for people because of grief and loss. So we don't only have the pandemic now, we have a lot of grief and loss, whether it's been due to the loss been due to the pandemic, or you already had that loss. So a lot of people have problems coping around holidays because that one that normally be at the Thanksgiving dinner is not there.
Right.
So
thank you for saying that. Okay, Kathy.
And she's absolutely right. So we already had the stressors for the holiday that we were already dealing with. So now we have the pandemic. One of the things that I would recommend to people is because, one, keep your gatherings small. I know that we want to have the big gatherings because that's what we were accustomed to and this is what we were used to. But again, keep in mind, this is just one Thanksgiving. This is one Christmas. There will be another one next year and the year after that and the year after that. And what you can do is, because we had to scale back this year, we can take the opportunity to plan for next year, plan makeup holidays, for all the activities that we miss. But again, even on the holidays, still keep in touch with your family. The connection is not about the brick and mortar. The connection is about heart to heart. And we're able to do that whether I'm sitting in front of you physically or whether I'm calling on the phone to check on you. Use that time to still connect with each other. You can still, like I said, FaceTime. I love my daughter-in-law, her and her family, every Saturday, they're on FaceTime, and one in California, one in here. And this is what they do once a week. You know, there are creative ways that we can stay connected with our family while keeping them safe. And especially during the holidays, because during the holidays, that's when we are have our seniors. That's when we're, you know, our seasoned saints. And they're more susceptible to an asymptomatic person. So if you keep in mind that it's not that something's being taken away from you, keep in mind that something is being given to you. You're being given the opportunity to keep your loved ones safe. You're being given the opportunity to be able to share in a more intimate setting. You're being given the opportunity to not have to cook in the kitchen all day long, you know.
Yes.
Look, instead of looking at, because like I said, we have a tendency to look on the left, but let's look at the right side of it. And then, like I said, and then together we can plan for next year. You know, the important thing is to keep safe, to show each other love. And that love, like I said, transcends from heart to heart, not mortar to mortar.
I love it. Did you want to add to that?
No, I was just saying absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. That's good stuff right there. My family and I, because we're kind of spread out a little bit. I do have one sister that's still here in Illinois. My oldest sister and her family are in the Maryland, DC area. And her oldest son got married last year. The wife had her a new baby almost about a year later. And we are dying to see this little girl, okay? But we just have to wait, you know. But what we do is we get on Zoom and we have our family time, you know. And she's just growing up before our eyes, you know, whatever. But it's so amazing that these kids nowadays, these babies nowadays, they are all in the camera. They, you know, I'm like, what do you just got here? What do you know about that? But so this is how she's learning us, of course, you know, virtually. But it's okay. We deal with that now, and we just plan, you know, when everything, you know, settles down, when it's safe to travel, because of course we don't want to go there. Now she's a new baby, you know, we don't want to go in there and possibly bring anything ourselves. And none of us are sick, but I'm just saying, you just still want to be cautious. Exactly. So we're trying to plan or be with each other safely, you know, in this virtual environment. Right. Jolanda Simmons, how are you, sweetie? She says she loves to plan makeup holidays. All right, and that's actually good. I'm glad you said that too, Kathy, because we were actually kind of thinking that, my family and I are planning, you know, makeup holidays, since we're not going to be able to get together this year. And, you know, of course, I'm thinking back last year we were there in the Maryland, DC area for Thanksgiving. And of course, my mind is going back and thinking about all that food and all that fellowship. But I mean, can't do it this year.
Yeah, but look at the calories you'll save. So.
Okay, there you go, Kathy. Thank you. She is trying to make us think, guys. Pastor Jerome Jackson, thank you so much for watching us on today. You guys go ahead and make sure you click that share button. Click the share button. This has been a special segment with Mind, Body, and Soul on today. Time for you to get caught in the net. And we want to just kind of talk about protecting our mental health today. And these were wonderful women of God that came in and did just that. They didn't disappoint. Of course, we just kind of were able to touch on a few things. As I said in the beginning, when you get to talking about mental health, there's so many aspects to it. But I believe that they were able to deliver. Do either of you have any parting words before we end on today?
I did want to say that because we talked about this earlier about we're both are full, but normally we will refer out. And I just wanted your audience to know that we have an African-American male in Homewood that we can refer out to. We have a female African-American in Orland Park that we can refer out to. She also can do psychological testing along with counseling. She also at her practice have a nurse practitioner that can prescribe meds if necessary. Then we have a colleague female colleague, African American in Frankfurt, that we refer out to. And then we have a female African American therapist in Chicago, the South Side of Chicago, that we refer out to. And then last, we have another female African American in Bolingbrook, Illinois, that we can refer out to. These are all of our colleagues that we trust and have relationships with.
Amen.
I love it.
My
Did you want to say something?
My parting message will be, first of all, I need everybody to be safe, but I need everybody to understand that you are blessed. Each day that you're given is a gift. And just because you're struggling in the gift, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong. Utilize counseling. There's no stigma to it. There's no problem. I became a counselor after going through counseling. So it's a process, but it will bless your soul if you use it in the way that God intended for you to use it. There are resources available. There are help available, and utilize the help because it's there and it will bless your soul.
Love it. Love it. All right. Beautiful. Thank you so much, ladies. I just can't thank you enough. I appreciate you. I respect you and your professions and what you do, and bid you Godspeed in all that you do. Please continue to do it because we need this help. We need this help. I always, and I was going to say something about this earlier about the mental health institutions that were closed down in Illinois so a few years ago. That's a whole nother show, a whole nother story. Because, when you close that down, where do you think the people are going to go? Okay, that's another story. Deborah Brown says here, thank you, my niece, and thank you, ladies, for being very helpful and willing to allow God to use you in a day and time where this is needed. A time to break down false pride, and pride that God hates, and the devil seeks to destroy the people. So thank you for those parting words, both of you ladies, and saying we need to erase the stigma. Basically, bottom line is what you're saying. Get the therapy, get the help that you need. And I always encourage this, and I always say this on Mind, Body, and Soul, that you need to seek out the help that you need. Brady says she loves both of your spirits. And she said it's also very important in choosing a mental health professional. And again, thank you, Kathy. There are a lot of individuals that they can refer you to. So you can start with them. I did put their information in the comment section. And if they need to or have to refer you out because of their schedules, then they will do just that. We're going to try it and see if we can get them back, because we want to talk about, what do we write down? Where do the therapists go when they need help? Where do they go? So we're going to try and get together and get our schedules together so we can have them back again. But this has been tremendous. And you guys enjoy your day. Thank you, listeners, viewers, watchers, supporters, those who have shared, those who have tagged. I thank you on today. We're going to get out of here and allow them to continue on their day. And I want you guys to make sure you get caught in a net.
Bye. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
For your mind, body, and soul, get caught in a net with ANet. It's your intellectual radio show, here to inspire you and encourage you to be your very best. Get caught in a net with ANet.
All right, guys, you know what I always tell you, make sure you stay safe, wash your hands, wear your mask, and we know that we need to make sure that we exercise our right to vote. Make sure if you have not voted early and you are one of the ones that want to wait until election day, that's fine. It doesn't matter. Make sure you vote. Make sure you vote. And that's all I'm going to say on that. All right, we're going to get out of here. You guys make sure next week, Mind, Body, and Soul is twice the time on Wednesday for you to get caught in the net. Wednesday, October 28th is a hot day at 12 noon Central Standard Time. We're going to talk with Dr. Shirley Hill, Mo Faith Nutritional Services, and she has a great hot topic for our monthly health and wellness segment. Then That same day in the evening at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, I am going to bring back part 2 of interracial couples versus racial tension. We had 3 interracial couples last month, and that was in the persons of Joe and Brandy McCord, also Adam and Nikki Harley, and then also Marcus Hill and Carmen Martinez. Now, did you guys see that show last month? Well, this part 2 is going to be off the chain. You do not want to miss it. So that's at 5 p.m. on Wednesday evening. So again, 12 noon Central Standard Time, Dr. Shirley Hill, that evening, 5 p.m. Her children, if you will come to us with that hot topic that is essential to have. So I don't want you guys to miss anything. Make sure you go to my website, GetCaughtInANetRadio.com, GetCaughtInANetRadio.com, and you will see all the past shows and everything that we have upcoming. So we're going to get out of here, guys. You enjoy the rest of your day. Be safe. I've already told you to wash your hands, wear your mask. Doesn't hurt to tell you that again. Make sure you vote. Peace out.